People, what's happening today? How are we? Got some coffee here. Today, got to go over all of the different coding services that are available with us. A lot of these you might be familiar with. Some of these might be new to you. But basically, we'll just give a quick rundown of which each of these services or which each of these languages do as far as for software and web development and what they can do for your business. So let's just quickly run through each. If you're not familiar, HTML. HTML is the foundation of the web. It's a scripting language, so it basically pulls files and tags from your server, from your hard drive, whether it's images or PDFs or links, and basically creates those within your browser. So as you can see here, this is just some basic HTML markup. You can do everything from text, again, images, links, things like that. So you can see here, it's just spitting out, thank you for visiting our website in what is called a browser, which we're using here. So HTML is going to be the foundational language, and every single website that is out there on the internet is using HTML. So if you need web development, we're probably going to be doing some HTML development for you. That's just how it is. So going here down to the second one is CSS, which is Cascading Style Sheets. And basically CSS is the design, the look, the aesthetics of the website. So how everything is laid out here, like this big header image and how these little pieces here are drawn out. A lot of that is the CSS development. So as you can see here, just a real quick piece. This is obviously just some text, but it's turning the text red. So that's a really foundational piece, and there's a lot of different tools out there now as far as CSS Grid, which makes everything responsive, Bootstrap, which kind of makes things responsive as well as kind of its own CSS structure to make things easier with icons and buttons and things like that, and then Font Awesome, which is basically pulling things like social media icons and things like that that are used throughout the web all around, and a lot of that is all under CSS, which is basically all the design type elements of your website. Going down here, we'll go to PHP, which is another popular language, although it's maybe not as popular as it was a few years ago. PHP is basically just a language for back-end development. So if you want to, say, add some customization in the back of your site that's maybe pulling a form and sending that information to your database, things like that, you're going to find that PHP is the language that people are using for back-end development with systems like WordPress, Joomla, these popular CMS platforms. Going down, we'll kind of review quickly the MySQL. MySQL is a database language, so basically it is how you're going to be able to organize and set up tables of data that is used for your website. So say you want to store username and an email that come through your website form, you're going to use something like MySQL to connect that with the database and to pull that information out when you're on the database. MySQL is a very powerful language. It's used on pretty much all the WordPress, the Joomlas, the popular CMSs out there. So you're going to be coming across MySQL with anything you want to do in regards to database management, organization, development. So let's keep going. Now Ruby is a popular web programming language. It's not as popular as it was. Basically what's happened is Ruby has become almost obsolete. It just couldn't evolve with the times, and 5-10 years ago it was very popular. Platforms like Twitter are built on Ruby. However, it just hasn't been able to keep up with the times. So if you do have an old project and you need help with your Ruby development, we're here, we can help you. However, we see less and less Ruby projects as time's kind of gone on, and that's going to be expected to go forward. Now, JavaScript is the beast language, programming language of the web. Basically, everything now is being done with JavaScript. If it's front-end, UI, user experience type development. And it's gotten much, much more complicated, almost as complicated as back-end development with JavaScript frameworks such as Angular, jQuery, React, Vue. I'm sure you've heard more and more about these because, again, these are becoming the popular frameworks for a lot of development. And JavaScript is a powerful language. It can do a lot. However, it's a complicated language. So the learning curve with JavaScript is definitely difficult. And then when you get into some of these frameworks such as Vue, React, jQuery is a little bit older. You're not seeing that as much, but Angular and such, there's a steep learning curve, and but they are used in a lot of enterprise type projects. So there's a lot of jobs out there with things like Vue and such. However, they are more complicated JavaScript programming. So going down here, we have Python, which is another great language, being used more for software development and such. It's definitely has the future ahead of it. There are some other things that are coming out that are kind of competing with it, but Python's kind of stood the test of time. So if you need any programming help with your Python code or your Python projects, we would definitely be here to assist. Now, going into version control, if you're not familiar with outlets like GitHub, Bitbucket, GitHub, Git is actually the language. So if you're not familiar, we do a lot with version control and can help your business. You can also read over more. Git is basically the language that's going to be used that interacts with you with the GitHub terminal or repository, so that you're able to send your files up with mass projects. So a lot of people working on a project, you're able to help kind of contribute to it and pull and push information and code that is then used. GitHub is probably the most popular, but Bitbucket is also growing significantly, and you'll be using the Git language to interact, or 99% of people are using Git now. So that's become kind of the enterprise version of version control. That's a little bit outside of coding, but it's still ingrained in the coding environment because it is pushing and interacting with the code in the project. And the last thing, just to kind of quickly go over as far as coding, is going to be code editors. The two most popular ones, and the ones we use internally at our studio, are going to be Dreamweaver and Visual Studio Code. You can find other ones out there. There's Atom, there's Note++, and they're great too, but these are the ones we use for our professional development. So if you need help with code using code editors, hey, we're here to help. So guys, that's kind of the review of our different services in regards to coding. If you need help with any of it, please feel free to give us a call, give us a message, whatever is easiest for you, because we're here to help get this information together for you and your business. You guys, if you enjoyed this, we're going to go into a little bit more specifics on each of these languages and some of their sub-languages or frameworks and libraries and such. So if you enjoyed this, give a like, give a subscribe. It's always appreciated. And stay tuned for a more detailed breakdown of each of these languages. Take care, guys. We'll catch you soon.